All right, we're live. This is the first session of our game of masks, particularly the Young Guardians. Basically, taking inspiration from the Guardians of the Galaxy Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. However, uh, we are mostly taking inspiration from the themes and tone of the films as opposed to necessarily any fictional occurrences or any lore or story bits. So you don't necessarily need to be familiar with the movies, know all the quotes back and forth, know the comic book history of the characters to have fun today. That's my goal, at least. But we're taking some of that kind of fun tone that really made me think like this is like why I like Marvel movies. That's what I like about that, and also space. But before we get into all of that, I want to do our little CATS procedure, which is the gauntlets thing that's been adopted. That's got to just get the game going and get everybody on the same page. So CATS first letter is C, which stands for concept. We've talked about that a little bit. Masks is a game about playing teenage superheroes and also kind of dealing with the ways that adults try to, and other teenagers try to define us and put labels on us and things like that. So we're going to lean into that a little bit. But we're also dealing with the fact that we are in space, which means that we're not all necessarily human beings dealing with that situation, but maybe some of us are aliens or robots or whatever kind of weird things we are too. So that comes into play as well. Now, being the young guardians, what that means to be the guardians of the galaxy, right? We're just going to say that maybe like 20, 25 years ago, there was this group of heroes called the Guardians of the Galaxy. And guess what? They guarded the galaxy, from threats and things like that. But 25 years, a lot has happened. They've gotten old, they've retired, right? And now something has occurred, which we'll look at that when we first came together. Little clue or inspiration or sentence or whatever. We'll go through that procedure to kind of talk about what that experience was that earned you all this new title of the new Guardians of the Galaxy, the Young Guardians of the Galaxy, right? But we don't need to get into all that just yet. Well, we're going to talk about each of our individual characters first before we do that. Which is going on to aim. Our aim for today's session and for this 4-session series, our aim today is mostly character creation, a little bit of world building, a little bit of galaxy building. We're going to kind of take a little bit of a relaxed pace today. We don't necessarily need to get in our full arc in one shot. We're going to try to get this done in 2.5 hours. So we're going to create characters, talk about our backstory. I'm going to ask you some questions. You guys can ask each other questions about your characters, right? We can do all the fiddly technological bits on the Excel sheet, which is helpful, but sometimes can be more work than you realize. And if we have a little bit of time, we might do a little action story prompt at the end, but we'll just kind of play it by ear there. Tone. So I want to talk about tone. That's the T in CATS. Our tone for today. We're going to kind of do PG-13 a little bit, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about safety tools too, right? But for tone, I'm thinking what I kind of really want to capture from Guardians of the Galaxy is these moments of like serious emotional kind of drama and like some heartstring pulling moments that are cut by humor, right? Like there's an example of a scene where they're all standing together in this one like break room and they're all like talking about their problems, and then the raccoon like jumps up and says, well, let's go shoot some mofos or whatever, right? So we're going to kind of lean into that emotional stuff, but when it gets a little bit too much, we can feel free to kind of cut that, make it a little bit more lighthearted, bring in the humor. And we might need to work that out a little bit together and figure out where exactly that is and what that line is like. But I think that we can do that together, right? But that's kind of the basic idea, theme-wise. Another theme that's kind of important in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies is family, and like making a new family, what family means to you, what your family was like, what a new family that you make could look like. So maybe that's something that we'll talk a little bit about too. I might ask some questions about that as well. That's just one of the themes I would like to highlight in this 4-session series. And finally, subject matter. We're teenagers, right? We're doing teenage things. Some things that teenagers do involve romance, making love, things like that, right? I would kind of like to put a little bit of a veil over that if it comes to straight up sexual encounters. Kissing is fine on screen for me. I'm good with an on-screen kiss. But if we do get into anything more intimate, I'd rather draw a veil over that, fade to black, something like that. Violence against animals is a little bit easier to justify sometimes when they're like alien creatures. But that's something that I normally like to draw a line on. So I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts on like kicking the alien chicken, so to speak. Is that something that would be uncomfortable for you? The fact that it's an alien makes it more comfortable? What do we think?
Fighting big alien monsters is kind of part of the deal. I feel like it's fair game if something comes after us wanting to eat us.
Sure.
But beyond that, I don't see a need for, we don't need to go around like kicking space kittens or anything like that.
I like that. Yeah, that sounds comfortable to me. I think that'd be a good kind of line to navigate. So I'm using some vocabulary here, lines and veils. If you're not familiar with that, those are ways that we can kind of describe things that we don't want to see. That we draw a line on that. We don't want that to be on screen in the story, whatever. For example, sexual assault, sexual violence. That, for me, has no place in this game. Maybe that goes without saying, but it's also good to say it sometimes too, right? So that's a line I'll draw. Same with this cruelty to animals, right? If you're fighting an intergalactic space slug, cool. Let's not kick the alien kitten, like we say. And we're drawing the veil over sex, right? Anybody have any other lines or veils that they want to put on the table now, ahead of time? Nothing in particular comes up. That's fine. You can always bring those up later. We can even talk about that on a break. You can send me a message if you'd rather not say it out to the group. That's cool too. One additional tool that we'll have in place is the X card. The X card is a tool that we like to use in the Gauntlet. Put up your X with your hands. You say X card. Type it in the chat. We're going to be using the Roll for Your Party dice rolling technology room that has an X card feature. We have lots of ways of getting the X card out there. Basically, that says, stop, I don't like where this is going. I don't like this particular subject matter, and we're going to take a break and move around that, right? Because we don't want that. We want to respect each other as people more so than the story, right? So that's the goal there. One thing I'm thinking about trying a little bit with this too. So because we're playing in a game that's more inspired by comic book movies as opposed to comic books, one of the things that Max likes to do, right, is to like describe your actions like they're in a comic book, or like, we see the splash panel where, I'm doing this big punch and there's the whatever, or think in the gutters in between panels. We're talking more about movies. So we might use terms like the camera pans over the battlefield, or we zoom in through the viewport or whatever, right? So with that in mind, I think I'd like to try some of the techniques from Bree Sheldon's script change, which is somewhat similar to lines and veils and the X card, but it uses terminology like pause, rewind, fast forward, things like that, because we're kind of taking a directorial writer's room approach here where we can, let's rewind a bit. I didn't really like where that went. Let's try a different way. Or let's pause and talk this out a little bit more before we continue the action, right? Does that make sense to y'all?
And fast forward being like veils, I
Right,
think,
right.
right?
Let's fast forward through this part and not really see it on screen, but we'll cut to the later part. I like that because I feel like the vocabulary is pretty natural. Like, oh, let's pause. Let's take a break. Let's rewind that back a little bit, so we can bring that into play too if we need to. So that's the safety tools we have on the table. Okay. I've talked a lot. I want to give you all a chance to talk about your characters. But just looking forward, one thing that we want to do, we're going to start the character creation process, but we're also going to together go over the basic moves and the peripheral moves that are listed on that PDF. They're also in one page of the spreadsheet, just so we can all kind of be familiar. I think that basic 2-page PDF does a really good job of explaining masks in a nutshell. Personally, this is my first time running and playing masks. So I know I have a couple veterans here who've both run and played it before. You're going to be able to help me out a little bit. But going over that together, I think will help us all get on the same page. And that's basically my whole goal for session 1 is let's all get on the same page so that we can really knock the next 3 sessions out of the park. Cool. Awesome. Okay, let us turn to the character keeper. So this is our Google spreadsheet here that we're all working on. Agatha, since you have had less time to work on this ahead of time, which is totally cool, no pre-homework is required, we're going to move from right to left. So you have a little bit of time to fiddle around with more technical stuff as we kind of talk about these characters. So Maria, you are on the far right column. So let's start with your character. You chose the Bull playbook.
Yes. Which the bull is basically their thing is like 2 things. One is that they've been modified in some way to be a weapon. The other thing is the love and rival, which is the bull's heart. So my character is I'm gonna take like I haven't seen Infinity War yet, but like the base premise I think of that movie is like promoting the other Marvel movies. My idea with this character is to promote a future series that the one that both Mike and I are gonna run as a group or co-GM. Yeah.
Great.
So my character goes by Eagle Eyes or the man with no place. Uh, he is kind of this young hunter slash gunslinger, or at least appears to be that way. Um, love and rival is determined by relationships, but uh, do you want me to go through the backstory now?
Well, I was going to ask you a couple things.
Yeah.
So, like you said with the bull, one of the big parts is like this whole love thing, right?
Yeah.
And I know you'd mentioned a little bit beforehand about like maybe having a particular person in mind.
I think yeah, it has to be one of the PCs. So I think it's
Okay.
supposed to be one of the PCs as because of how relationships work.
Then let's
And those
put that. I was going to say let's put a pin in the who, so to speak, for now because we'd like to get to know everybody else a little bit more. Okay, well, let me ask you a couple more questions about Eagle Eyes then. First of all, you said they go by the man with no place. So does Eagle Eyes have an appearance of an adult? Does he try to hide his teenage years? Does he go by man in spite the fact that some people would call him young man? What do you think?
I don't think he tries to hide it. It's just he, like, I guess, presents older.
Okay.
Or like he's definitely an older teen, but
Sure.
I don't know how to like if it's like young man with like the young man with no place. it's like longer than just the man with no place. So. And it's not really a boy with no place, so
yeah, I feel
it's like whatever. So whichever.
No place kid, right?
No
Yes.
place kid.
So tell me more about this title, The Man with No Place. Where did you earn that title?
I'm thinking it's basically due to he's not from around here, in the sense that uh like, yes, he's from the galaxy. I'm imagining like from another version of this galaxy. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so let's talk about the galaxy a little bit. So I went ahead and made a little Google drawing for us all called the galactic map, which is free for us to kind of introduce places and things like that. It's not really the Milky Way. I took it from like some Hubble telescope image. But basically, it's free reign for us to do whatever with. Technically, Earth doesn't even have to be in this galaxy, right? We could be in a totally different galaxy, maybe even, a long, long time ago or something, right? Far, far away.
Can I just throw? One thing I like about Guardians of the Galaxy is the use of like classic music. So I'd like for us to at least have that touchstone to Earth culture.
So okay, so I also love the classic music from Guardians of the Galaxy, which is why I made that playlist. I like spent way too much time like building that and like totally like stressing over it, and like I listen to it now and I'm like, oh, this song was a terrible choice for this playlist. Why did I do that? But yes, I also love that. So when you say you want that touchstone, do you want that to be that these aliens are listening to Earth music, and so this is music that they enjoy, or just like a editorial choice? What do you think?
I definitely want it as an editorial choice. Like, this is the song that's playing over this action scene. But the idea of Dylan being able to listen to that music and reference it could be amusing too. But I'm less married to it being used in the fiction of the characters talking to each other, but then I am using it as editorially.
It would be really helpful for me if we had like the events of the movies as a touchstone.
Okay, I'm cool with that too.
Like setting it 20 years in the past is awesome, because then these whatever, they're like, the music can get passed down and all that kind of stuff and everything. But to have what happened in the movies as like things that we can refer to is a cool thing, because if we've seen it, then we can refer to it. If we haven't, we don't have to, because it's a couple of decades later and it can go either way, and that's fine. But to at least say that the movies happened and not, you know what I mean? Like, or we've heard stories of how it went down, and not completely have it be a totally separate thing, I think would help for those of us that are immersed in the movies and are like have that in our heads when we're thinking about this.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm totally down with that. The only thing I want to avoid, the only pitfall I want to get to, is us too much relying on the movies and saying, oh, you remember when such and such thing happened? And then if there are those among us who may be less familiar are going to be like, what are you talking about? I'm totally lost here. It feels like you're all speaking in some code language, right? So we could definitely have like these events have happened. And if you reference something, even if just give it like a little bit extra context than you normally would, cool with me.
Yeah, like if we give as much context as we would if we had made it up ourselves, then then we should be fine. So yeah, rather than just presuming everybody knows what you're talking about, if you give that extra sentence or two, then I think that'll probably work out okay.
Lovely. Okay, so when it comes to this galactic map, putting Earth on this map says this is like a place I might want to visit. But we can say like, hey, I picked this up from some, like weird frequency that came through to my satellite or whatever, and that's where I got this song or whatever, or, this radio station. That would be a fun moment too. And I'm not going to outlaw that, right? But as we talk about like the man with no place, right? like one place that you would call home or something like that, you can put that on the map. That makes sense.
That's the name.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no.
We might have to give you another drawing task here than putting your place.
Just wanted everywhere. That's all. Everywhere he goes, his face is hanging up on the wall of the post office. So
Yes.
that would make the man with no place.
For sure. Yeah. So I want to look at your labels real quick for Eagle Eyes. Bulls all have the same basic superpowers, which are, superhuman strength and endurance and fighting power. But your labels, what did you choose for those?
Well, those are predetermined except the +1 on 1. And I put the +1 on freak. So the totals would be danger 2, freak 2, savior -1, superior 1, and mundane -1.
Very cool. So with freak, mechanically we know, hey, when you have higher freak, you're better at unleashing your powers, right? But when you're in a galaxy full of aliens of different species and robots and other kind of crazy things, right? What does it mean to be a freak?
I think, well, because he's not from around here, like he might be from either another galaxy or another dimension altogether. I think it means that he doesn't fit. He fits in even less. Like he. So it's like, I don't know. I have no place. Like even though this is like a big fucking place, none of it is like part of who I am.
Yeah, that's hard. When you got 15 players to choose from and none of them to your liking. Yeah. Do you often find yourself like in social situations where you don't know how to interact, or they seem to be like everybody else seems to know the deal, but Eagle Eyes?
I mean, if we go by people know what happens to the Guardians of the Galaxy, then definitely, because I, as a player, don't know what happened in Guardians of the Galaxy. But apart from that, yes, I think that is the case.
Okay. I see that. Very cool. I like this picture you chose for Eagle Eyes, too. I might have to screen share that at some point.
You know, right?
Let's go ahead. Have you just answer one backstory question for me? Your choice.
All right. Who changed you? I'm gonna go with the first one because it makes sense to do them in order for me.
Sure.
I think far away, like again in another galaxy or in another version of the galaxy or in another dimension altogether, there's this machine. There's a cosmic machine that changes things. And for some reason I was tampered with, and that happened.
Okay. And it also shot you over here?
Yes. Or rather, how did you escape from them is the next question. So I think I basically went over here.
Okay.
Somehow.
Think about that how while we take some more of these columns out. How about that? But you were warped by the cosmic machine. I like that. And specifically, it sounds like it warped your hands, right? Because it said that you
also that.
inhuman hands. Do you have an idea of what those look like?
Claws.
Just you got claws now. Sick. Yeah. All right, cool. So next column we have Jim with Verlax. Tell us all about Verlax.
Okay, so I'm the guy who has read like every Marvel comic and is deep in the weeds in all the movies and all the comics, and I Actually, in my civilian life, I own a comic book store. So, so
No pressure though, right?
yeah. So in the conversation that we had beforehand, I promised that I would be enthusiastic about the Marvel lore, but not like mire anybody in it. So some of my background stuff is going to come from the comics, but I'm not going to like hold anybody to knowing it. Or if anybody wants to like if somebody says, "Wouldn't it be cool if this were this way?" I'm not going to say, "Well, no," because that's not how it is in the comics. So so I was looking at the newborn, and you're a brand new being created through scientific inquiry, feat of engineering, or random chance. This world is all new to you, full of wonder and adventure. It's not easy, though. Everyone has an opinion about who you are and what you should do. It's time to find out for yourself who you really are. In the Marvel Universe, there is a race called the Skrulls. And the Skrulls are, they were originally going to be the villains in the first Avengers movie. Supposedly, they're going to be the villains in the upcoming Captain Marvel movie, but they have the ability to change their shape. And so their thing is they go around to other planets and kind of infiltrate them, and that's how they take them over, is they change their shape, and they have some kind of limited powers based on their ability to change their body shape and stuff. Like, it's this kind of like magical shape changing where like if you change into the shape of a bird, you can fly, even though you technically probably don't physiologically shouldn't be able to, but all of that kind of stuff. And so in the Marvel Universe, the Skrulls eventually developed through a scientific process the ability to create Skrulls that could duplicate the powers of Earth superheroes. So the very first one of these was called the Super Skrull, and it had the powers of all four of the Fantastic Four. And much later, they did a storyline called Secret Invasion, where the Skrulls tried to take over the Earth. And there were like a bunch of different Super Skrulls. It got to be like borderline comical, where like there was like an X-Men Super Skrull that could like turn into steel like Colossus and had Wolverine's claws and Cyclops' eye beams, and another one that had like Tony Stark's chest plate and Thor's hammer and, you know, the Hulk's left arm or something like that. And so I kind of thought, wouldn't it be neat if whatever process created that, one of these kind of weird amalgam shape-shifting aliens, like if one of the Skrulls that was a prototype for that, like, got forgotten in a lab somewhere. And decades later, somebody found them and woke them up. And the whole mission for whatever crazy thing it was they were created in the first place is like long forgotten. You know, there's been 3 emperors of the Skrull Empire since then. Maybe, you know, the homeworld's been eaten by Galactus, whatever, all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
But basically, like, created to be a being that duplicated the powers of their enemies, but now I have no idea who my enemies are. And the people that created me are gone, and I don't know what's going on. And like, I thought that kind of as a newborn thing, that would be pretty cool, because it gives story-wise and like, you know, certainly like Marvel continuity-wise, a reason to have a whole bunch of different powers. And not just different powers, but one of the really cool things about the newborn is there's a lot of things where it's like suddenly you discover you have a new power that you didn't know you had, or like, you know, you get blown up and then you come back and you've got a whole suite of different powers. And that seemed like a cool background for that. So like, and that's basically as much as you need to know about that. And then, you know, which is that essentially I was created to be a soldier that mimicked the powers of my people's enemies, but now my people are gone and I don't know who my enemies are supposed to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that fits in with this whole family and loss and things like that too. And I'm looking at those moves, and like you have that one move, A Mind of Their Own, which is like basically you mark a condition and you gain a new ability, and then it's gone.
And like for one scene, and then it goes away, and like and that also lets me like privately indulge whatever kind of like in the weeds Marvel stuff I want to do. That I don't need to explain anybody, but will be a big Easter egg for any Marvel fans that are watching this playthrough. So there we go. Which is also a very Guardians thing.
True. Well, that's probably, yeah, that's definitely for sure. Yeah, I like that. Very cool. One other move that I think is very cool about the newborn is the blank slate, which talks about this idea that you have these lessons that you're learning about the world, right? So you filled out a couple of these to start with, right? When you create your character, what were those?
So when it asks you to answer 2 of them initially, and the 2 that I answered were so the 4 questions are I am a superhero should, I am blank, a superhero should blank, always blank, and never blank. And so the lessons that I have kind of like just initially, I am a failed prototype. So whatever it was I was meant to do, they forgot me, or I was never woken up, never cracked out of my egg, or wherever it is they found me, because I didn't work right. And that's the conclusion that I've come to. Like why wasn't I part of the Secret Invasion 25 years ago? Is because for some reason I was one of the first ones they created, and I'm a failed prototype. And the other one is never reveal your real mission, which seems like something that if like the whole point of my people is like infiltrating and like always kind of trying to be let people know, not let your enemy know what you're up to, that's like never tell anybody what you're really doing, which will create some, which also is kind of cool because like that'll create real tension amongst a bunch of teenagers if I'm never like entirely on the level about what it is I'm planning.
Sure. Or if you decide, maybe that's not what I want to do. Maybe I want a new mission.
Exactly.
Very cool. Why don't you answer maybe one of your backstory questions for you? Well, I know we've actually talked about who created you and why and how you're different. So maybe other than your elasticity that you mentioned and your ability to change your form and your ability to like kind of mimic powers, right? Are there other facets of being a Skrull that are different from being a human that we should know about?
Yeah, we have like absolutely no concept for gender, and we find it completely insane.
Okay.
Because we can change our bodies to look however we want. So we're omnisexual, and canonically we're born out of eggs. We come out of eggs.
Okay.
And so the whole the whole idea that you would differentiate on this like weird, like completely arbitrary biological spectrum, totally alien to Skrulls.
I see. So does Verlax prefer what pronoun does Verlax choose to use then?
I don't understand this pronoun thing.
Should we call them they?
Human, call me whatever is comfortable for you.
Well, how about you, Jim? Tell us what you would like us players to use.
Verlax, I think, literally is just like Verlax's pronoun is Verlax. Like says, call me Verlax. You'll be less confused that way. And I think one of the things that I kind of have in mind is because of the kind of the shape shifting and stuff like this is it would be interesting to do in the same way that people kind of code switch, like as humans, we sort of code switch verbally depending on who we're with and who we're talking to and what social group we're with, that Verlax's body might just kind of like slowly, subtly alter to make whoever they're with comfortable in whatever way Verlax thinks that might make sense.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like it's I think like honestly, Verlax says just use my name because that's who I am.
All right. You're probably going to earn a nickname soon.
There we go.
We want those monosyllable.
Yeah, that's fun.
Things.
That's cool. That can be a whole fun thing.
Yeah, I like that. Very cool. Next column we have Rich. Tell us about Dylon.
I am playing Dylon Farr. That should be hyphenated, I think, based on what little bit Wikipedia told me about the Kree. He is a Kree, The Kree are the blue assholes that you see in the original movie. They are technologically advanced. I kind of think of them as space elves, which means I actually kind of hate them a little bit. But I thought, why not play Dylan Farr? Dylan Farr is a brain. One of the inspirations, and this is mostly for Jim and me talking out loud, being a nerd, I kind of imagine him a little bit like Brainiac 5 from Legion. So he's kind of the well actually guy, which you may hate him for, and that's okay. He owns that. He is so he's from the Kree. They're technologically advanced. Well, no, it's a Kree splainer. So or a brain splainer. I like brain splainer. I don't like brain splainer. He has is incredible. Yeah, sorry.
Your quiz planning has caused the GM to leave the face of the earth.
Oh no! I kicked out the GM. That will kill our hanging out on air if he's gone for too long.
Rip.
Oh no!
He'll be back.
Just hang tight and wait. Think thoughts.
Happy
Agnes,
thoughts.
I see you're using the picture for Raven. It's really cool. I love that picture.
Yeah, I just Googled it, and
It's a really cool pic. It's a cool character.
I like it.
Back, Michael?
Yes, I've recently gotten a new Mac laptop, new to me, and I keep getting error 21. I don't know what it is. It just says error 21. Try again. So I'm here. So we were talking about the brain splainer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Dylan is a brain. His abilities are his incredible intellect and his hyper-extending prosthetic limbs. I think that he has not currently opted to remove his own limbs. So much like Doc Ock, he has 4 limbs that are in a cool little space backpack that he wears around. So occasionally he might like stick his fingers in the straps of the backpack. I'm sure that someone may grab that backpack and yank him away, but he would have thought of that and understood that it was a low risk. He has moves like always prepared and above the fray, so he actually benefits the team when he tells them what they did wrong, believe it or not. So he's pretty much perfect, and he doesn't understand why everyone doesn't find him adorable and extremely helpful. It's Dylan.
But for such a perfect guy, you do have one particular shame. Is that right?
Yeah, it says it on the playbook, but actually, it's more like I just need to focus on it and fix. So I have a deep and abiding sense of guilt for something I've created or had a hand in creating. I totally made it. It could have been something you invented when you first came into your genius, or something you set into motion that you no longer have the power to stop. May even be something beyond your ability to achieve again, this once in a lifetime creation. And so the shame could be a prototype AI, a catastrophic weapon, a living monstrosity, a cosmic phenomenon, a dangerous chemical, an altered former ally, or something else. I was leaning towards altered former ally, if that's okay with everyone else, which of course that ally was probably way cooler than me.
I love a free NPC, so I'm down with that.
I hand forth to you altered former ally.
Altered former ally. Okay. Did you have anything particular in mind with this ally?
Well, no, because I wanted to check in with the group and I didn't want to over define it. I imagine if we thought of this as a comic or movie, we've got our very flexible character. We have our shooting character. Ferrokinesis. We have our burning character. Isn't that ferrokinesis? Isn't that what ferrokinesis is? Or am I a dummy?
I think that might be.
It's metal.
Magneto.
Oh, okay,
She's
Magneto.
Yeah.
We all answered for you.
Well,
don't worry.
She's Polaris. So.
Before you got to the mute button, we were like, oh no.
No, it's okay. Awesome. So, what would we need? I guess maybe a very empathic and understanding character is what was filling out the group that
Is
I.
there could there be a legacy that you screwed up by this? Like some hero that was like he was like the 10th generation and you like messed up that family line somehow?
Trying to think of Marvel legacies. That's not a big thing. That's very DC. Yeah, I mean, it could be
Like one of the Novas or something like that.
you same page. Maybe one of
Yes,
the
yeah,
Novas. Yeah. So one of the Novas. I hosed up a Nova. I was trying to supercharge their helmet, and it turned into a helmet of opposite alignment. D&D flip mode for you there.
It's a what do you call the stars that go reverse? Black hole, supernova, something.
Oh yeah. Something like that. Is
Okay.
that cool? Does everybody like the idea of a Nova? Maybe like a female Nova who was really cool and everybody liked her, and that did not influence me in turning her bad. It just happened that way, guys. Seriously.
So they were a former ally of you, or we're saying the whole team?
I made a member of the team if everybody's cool with that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But since this is your secret shame or your secret guilt, maybe everybody else doesn't know your hand.
One of my relationships is I've told someone about my shame.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone else can't know at start, but don't worry, it'll get out.
We'll get to that. But
they just stopped taking our calls. I don't know why she left the team, guys. Seriously, she just had a nefarious plot. I don't know. She went villainous. Sorry, it happens. Not my fault.
Whoops. So we've talked a little bit about your backstory, about these space elves that you are descended from. Are they still a presence in this galaxy? Do they have?
Yeah, definitely. But they're nowhere near as advanced as I am, but still pretty advanced.
Okay.
They're living with the guilt of that dink whose name I tried to Google and have failed, but the name of the guy who tried to use the Infinity Stone, Ronan. Ronan the Accuser. God, I'm such a doof. Anyway, so yeah, they're trying to live down the shame of Ronan the Accuser, who nearly caused an intergalactic war and had to get stopped with a dance-off.
That's right. Perfect. Ronan the Accuser. They're trying to kind of get out of his shadow, so to speak. Is that right? Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, when you have some free time, feel free to use that curve tool to make a little shape on the galaxy where the Kree hold power, and where their planet might be, their head planet, or anything important, maybe your home planet, thing like that. Okay. And Verlax, if you want to maybe mark the location where your lab was, where you were found, because I know you said that the scrolls don't necessarily maybe so hold power in this galaxy. So you can work that out however you will. But I want to hear a little bit more about Agatha's character. Thank you for your patience. Tell us about your character.
So her superhero name is Inconel. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce that. I just Googled strong metals, and that's what I got. And her normal civilian name is Enan. So she is the Reformed, which means that, considering that I think we're supposedly still all teens. I'm not sure. It seems like some of the other characters are a little older. So
I'm definitely a teen.
Okay. Well, so Enan is a teen, and when I saw that, used to be a supervillain and is reformed is a child, and I'm like, oh, this is the former child soldier character. And that's basically what I have for her as her backstory. I'm not sure. Also, my internet is pretty laggy right now, so I'm not sure if I'm coming across properly.
I'm hearing you great. If you need to, you can adjust your bandwidth or even turn off our video or your video,
Okay.
whatever it takes. If you look at the top of your video screen, if you move your cursor up there, there's like a little like bar symbol that's like your like internet reception. If you click on that, you can adjust your bandwidth down like so. And now I'm all blurry, but it'll make it faster for you. Sound good?
Oh,
So you can fiddle with that.
okay, it's on my phone, so I'm not sure how to do that. But okay, so just like message in the chat if you guys can't hear me properly,
Sure.
and
So
I'll turn off my video. Go ahead.
so you're using your phone, technological stuff. When we send little messages in the chat, like I'll send a test message like that, does that pop up on your phone?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Okay. So if we need to send a message that way, what we're going to want to do, everybody, is go to the Hangouts chat, like where I posted the link to the video here as well. That way we can make sure Agatha gets it if it's relevant. If it's a little side joke, I think that's okay. But for other stuff, it's useful too if I get another Air 21 because that clears out my chat log anyway. So we'll keep that in mind. But you also have like a little access to the sheet as well. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure you have everything you need. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Enan used to be, so she was, I think she was probably an orphan. So, like like she was very poor and starving. And so, there's an organization that I don't have a name of where they kind of like, yeah, they just go around and then they pick up kids. um, to see if they could possibly be trained to become tools for them. And Enan's old, she didn't used to have a name. Her name was Soldier 9. And then when she left, she was like, I don't know how to do names. So then she just flipped it around, which is why her name is Enan. Yeah. So she has, yeah, I feel like she's still trying to understand like the extent of what she did as a part of that organization, and she's trying to understand like how much like what is like responsibility and trying to deal with that. She hasn't told many people about it, so she's mainly trying to puzzle that out on her own. And yeah,
I dig it. Very intense, but I
well,
dig
it's
it.
hard.
But I definitely think this whole like orphan picked up and trained to like, you know, be a tool for some organization, but which you have rebelled against. Is that right?
I think she ran away from them.
Okay. So they might still be hunting you. Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
most likely. Yeah.
Juicy GM tidbits. Love it. Cool. So we have a little bit here. Your friends in low places. You have a few ties to people from your previous career who can maybe help you out. Is that right?
Yes.
You've worked on them a little bit. Why don't you tell us about those people?
I just picked names from the list that was available. And I like these ones specifically because they all sound like drag queen names, and I'm about that. Um, I haven't really, yeah, I don't have a backstory for them yet. I think at least one of them is still in the organization, and then another one has also left the organization, and then one more, I'm not sure.
That's a good spread for me. I like that. We don't have to necessarily get those folks fleshed out fully, but that's a great start. And I love their names too. So if you look at these backstory questions, are there any that that jump out at you in particular that you think you have an answer to?
Yeah. I think for what was your goal as a villain?
Mm.
It's Enan's or Soldier 9's goal was to, first of all, survive. Because it's not like they're constantly going through soldiers. There were many Soldier 9s before her.
Oh, it's like a 007 kind of thing.
Yeah, except less glamorous.
but there weren't like 8 people before you're the 9th tool. This is
Yeah.
like been going on for a while. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, whenever one dies, they kind of lift up the next like whoever was already labeled as having potential. So 1 is survival, and then 2 is to get really powerful so that she could have pull within the organization and or just like have any kind of say in what she wants to do or doesn't want to do.
Yeah. So that was your goal then when you were Soldier 9, obviously try to stay alive and try to, gain some semblance of power and respect and authority, right? What goal did the organization have for you? I know you mentioned that they were tools, but did they have a particular thing in mind for you before you ran away?
Yeah, I because my power is very physical, I was usually I'm either in the front line or I'm partnered with someone who would do more on like the social side, so like mental manipulation, and I'm like the backup person. So I'm usually partnered with someone or with a team as their muscle, if you will.
Okay. So you're the plan B.
Yeah.
So to
That's
speak.
me.
So tell us a little bit more about Enan's like physiology. Like, does she look humanoid? Basically human? What do you think?
Yeah, she looks human. I think um so yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And you can look human and not be from Earth, necessarily. Or maybe you were from Earth and you don't remember.
Yeah, I don't
Could
think
be
she
anything.
knows.
Okay. Basically humanoid. Okay. So I'm going to give you some time to think about more of your backstory questions, the name of your organization, all that, because we're going to wrap back around to Eagle Eyes and hear a little bit more about what you've been thinking for them. Yeah, so let's look at maybe some more of your backstory questions.
Yeah. So I basically have answers for all of them now.
Wonderful.
So how did I escape from them? I think I basically convinced the machine somehow that I was more useful uh outside of its domain.
Mm.
So so that basically means more like, I guess, in a uh so maybe it's like an alternate dimension more so than a galaxy. Or it could still be another galaxy. I don't know. We can leave it vague, but still.
Sure.
But that's basically that one. Where did where I am okay. So who outside the team tries to take care of you now? So the answer being the Fate Weaver engine of the cosmic machine.
Ooh, that's a cool name. I love that. Tell us more about the Fate Weaver engine. What is that?
It's basically the cosmic machine is made of different parts.
Okay.
So and this is like part of it. It's like a section of it that is particularly interested in me.
Yeah. So I have this idea, right? We talk about the cosmic machine that they kind of have like this sort of robotic machine logic, and that's kind of something as a human you were able to leverage or manipulate.
Yes.
But this Fate Weaver engine's like, okay, if you think you're going to be more useful, but I'm going to come with you and keep an eye on you. Is that the idea?
Kind of, sort of. I think they stayed behind, but did something which goes to my next question, which is, why did you try to be a hero? And my answer was, because the Fate Weaver imprinted that on me.
Okay. So what does that process look like?
I don't think I'd be sure myself, because it's more like Inception, I guess. Like, I don't notice it, but it might be like I think I came up with it on my own, but like I actually didn't.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
So it's like a little voice in the back of your head or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So like if we were to see the Fate Weaver's engine's influence on screen, like what would that look like to the audience?
It would be like a voice telling me, do this, do that, or whatever. It would be like a voice in my head.
Cool. Reaching out across space, time, dimensions,
yes,
etc.
And my last question is, why do you care about the team? And that is, otherwise I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere.
You're the man with no place. This is all you got.
Yeah.
Okay. Stranded. Hopefully we will come to feel a little bit more.
I mean, I already kind of have to. I kind of already have to, because I have a rival in a love.
You're gonna fall in love. I love that about the bowl, especially because I imagine people being like, "Yeah, I want to be like the Brick," and then kind of realizing, "Oh, and I to be in love with somebody." Okay, well, I picked the bowl. Got to do it. But I know you already had that in mind anyway. Very cool. Before we move on to relationships for you, I want to hear a little bit more about everybody else's backstory and get everybody fully fleshed out. Then we can do relationships, and then we will touch on our team coming together. And I think we'll probably take a little bio break after that. So that's kind of what we're aiming for here. Jim, do you have some more answers for Verlac's backstory? You might be in the zone there, Jim. Did you hear me?
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's navigating back to get to where I can. I got too many windows open. Flip back to where I can actually talk. Yes, yeah. So going down the list here of my backstory, who created me and
may I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you add your +1 to one of your labels? Because it seems like everyone else has a total of +3, and you're the only one who doesn't.
I think I did. Let me take a look. It may be that I get more power.
Yeah, it should add up to 3. Maria's
right.
It
should. Oh, okay. Oh, at character creation, add +1 wherever you choose. There we go. Danger 1, freak 2, savior 0, superior 1, mundane -2. Got it. Okay. All right. Here we go. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to do that. My danger to 2. Thank you, Maria. I hadn't noticed that. Thank you very much. That's super helpful.
No problem.
All right. Cool. So my backstory. Who created me and why? The Skrull biosmiths, and they created me to be a living weapon. Skrull weapons technology is not about making weapons; it's about making our own bodies into weapons. So that's what they did that to me. I've got I have a little. I suppose I have a little bit of the child soldier thing going on as well, to some extent. Although more like I didn't. I woke up and I was supposed to be a soldier, but I don't have that trauma, I guess. So that makes for an interesting contrast with Incanel.
For sure.
Yeah. Who outside of the team is your caretaker? And I'm going to say that is the Skrull Bio Dreadnought, which is the living starship where they found me, where the team found me.
You said it's a bio dreadnought?
Bio dreadnought, yeah.
Ooh.
All of our technology is living beings that have been like modified through like millennia of genetic engineering to serve specific functions.
So when we see the bio dreadnought on screen,
Yeah.
what does this ship look like?
It looks like probably something like a gigantic, like green colored, like an ichthyosaur, like a seagoing, like a massive seagoing dinosaur.
Okay.
With like eyes that have been modified to be transparent so that like you can see out through them when you're standing in its skull behind it, and its body's all hollowed out and stuff like this and everything. And it's like intelligent in a kind of slow, deep, cosmic way that like a whale is or something like that. So it's not like you can just go on the ship and have a conversation with it, but like its brain controls all aspects of getting it through space, and there are specially bred scrolls that can connect to it and all this kind of stuff and everything. And I think because of the amount of time I spent on the ship, I developed a connection to it that normally, like, weapons that were developed on the ship wouldn't have. So that ship, and I have a special connection, and it's my caretaker.
Okay.
Because all the scientists who actually created me are long gone, and maybe the ship was like, and I kind of like the idea that the ship was like abandoned and basically sleeping when the team came on board and found me.
Okay. So, but you still feel like you have a connection with the ship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it has functions and features that could take care of you if you needed it.
Yep. Yeah, like if I'm ever really super badly hurt and they bring me back there, like they bring me down to the lab where they first found me and like stick me in like a fleshy kind of squamous wall, and it like sucks me back in and can, cocoon me up and heal me or something like that, like that kind of cool, like biotech HR geekery kind of thing.
Very interesting. Love that. Cool. So when we say, what about humanity fascinates you the most? I think we're talking about like general galactic inhabitants, but
yes, yeah, sure.
What fascinates you about it?
What fascinates me the most, oh God, I think is probably that like I kind of like I like the idea that as someone who can like I'm like changing my shape all the time, and I woke up to not knowing what was going on and stuff like this, that they can't figure out which is more important, the past or the future.
Expand on that a little bit for me.
So like half the time their motivations are based on their ancestors and what came before them and tradition, and half of the time their motivations are entirely about change that they envision and what they think can be achieved, even if it makes no sense or it's got no connection to what came before. And that disconnect between those two things I find like utterly fascinating.
So imagination and heritage. Interesting. So
yeah, and kind of the way that imagination makes no sense if if what you're really interested in is the way that memory and imagination are fundamentally at odds, and yet somehow humans manage to reconcile that and make their way through the world.
Wow. Well, that's very deep. I don't know exactly how much we'll be able to dig into that very
I
deep
think we
philosophical concept, but I'm sure we'll have some cool scenes with that. I like that. So would you say in that case that Verlax tends to live in the now? Is that the idea?
Hang on. Yeah, like I think Verlax is one of those people who's like we all know people who have no concept of like who literally are just living in the moment. And like if you ask them what they had for breakfast yesterday, they'll have trouble remembering. And if you ask them what they're going to be doing next Monday, they have no idea. And I think like Verlax has that kind of thing going on.
Well, he is a teenager, so that makes sense.
Yes.
Very cool. So for Verlax, why do you care about the team? I know that they broke you out and cracked your egg, so to speak, but why do you stick around?
Because I've imprinted on them. So the whole point of like being a scroll, like one of these scroll weapons, is that you're supposed to get dropped into a society and then get to learn it, and you kind of take on the mannerisms of that society, and you like the powers are kind of built in and they sort of rise up within you as you need them. But the process where I was supposed to get like whatever, like some basic cultural knowledge implanted on me and then put on a world to kind of have that culture imprint on me. When the team woke me up, like like if you whatever, like hatch a duckling or something like that, and you're there and its mother isn't, it will decide that it's your mother. The team is the planet I'm infiltrating. So like it's imperative on me to learn about their culture and how to get along with them and become one of them so that I can carry out whatever mission it is I'm supposed to carry out.
Wow. Verlax is like oddly like I can relate to them a lot because like I moved around a lot as a teenager and I did the same thing where it's like, okay, here's this new group of people. I need to figure them out.
And like totally, I see him like kind of team wise as like the kid who's like 13 and like really wants to like like be a teenager like the other teenagers, but has really no idea how to go about it, and so spends a lot of time just sort of imitating whoever he's with. Even if they have completely different approaches to how to be a teenager.
Okay. Awesome. That answers most of my questions for Verlax, so let's look a little bit more at Dylan.
Okie doke. So backstory?
Yeah, I think I'd like to nail some of that down a bit more for sure.
Sure. How did you first reveal your genius to your friends or family? I created a cross-dimensional portal device.
Okay.
Yeah, but cosmic exposure to the subjects was deemed too dangerous, so it's currently in a vault. But it totally works.
Okay, so the first thing that you created was also dangerous.
Yeah, but I learned from it. I've got schematics for a new one that should work perfectly fine.
I wonder if, like a certain person without a place could ever find a use for such a thing. Who knows?
Maybe. I'm calling it a choom tube.
Choom tube, okay.
Yeah, chooms you over to another dimension.
Chooms you right on over. Okay.
Yep. Chooming. I've got a trademark on that, actually. T-shirts.
It's just like one of those bank tubes. It's foomp. I call those the foomp tubes.
It's just like that, except cross-dimensional and incredibly advanced. But if you want to simplify to that, float your boat.
Very cool.
Why did you decide to use your intellect for the benefit of others? I was inspired by the failure of Ronan the Accuser, his shame, and decided to prove that the Kree are still amazing and mostly me amazing, but also the Kree are great because I happen to be a Kree.
Okay, so you
fair?
have
Is that okay?
Yeah, so you have like some family or some pride in your race and your species. Is that right?
Yeah, I jokingly call him Uncle Ronan, but he doesn't even know who I am. So
Okay.
plus he's dead. So there's that. What accident or misfire taught you some sense of humility? I actually just realized that I copied my same thing. Let's see. I was going with like Rowan's blind devotion and brutality showed me the folly of acting without conscience, but that's tapping too much into the same thing. So maybe an accident that I had that isn't a great shame. Let's see. Maybe there's a device that backfired on me in the middle of a conflict, and I had to get my butt saved by either Inconel or Verlax or Eagle Eyes. Like, just to say that I had a portable rail gun that I called a scatter gun, and it blew up.
So, based on the characterization of Dylan so far, I don't know how quick you might have been to verbally express humility there, but you felt some real like humility or reliance on others in that moment.
Yeah, they saved my life.
Yeah. Okay. So I like that. And your next question here, who helped you realize you need other people? This is a name I'm unfamiliar with, so we have a nice new NPC. Is that correct?
We don't. I named the Nova, Corin. She's the one who told me I was being an idiot about the team and that I needed other people. She maybe even vouched for me if that was needed.
Sure.
Which is why I totally wanted to fix her helmet and improve it.
Oh, that's sad. And you're being a real thotto, huh? We're getting our nice space slang out there, right?
I'm gonna whip out much slang, but don't worry, I'll give you context for it.
Cool, I like that. Very great for teenage space superheroes. That's exactly what we need.
Right.
So,
why do you care about the team? They totally need me. Look at them. Inconel needs somebody to help her learn about the universe. Verlax, pretty much the same thing. I mean, he's like the intelligence of a 3-year-old, really. Eagle Eyes, I mean, he'll never admit it, but he's kind of got nobody else, so I'll help them out. I care about them because they need somebody to care, and that's me.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you for.
Someone just posted a really big thing.
Yeah, I saw that. I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to make a joke, but on a link, but it backfired.
That can happen. Thank you for filling out that backstory a little bit more for us, Rich.
No problem.
So, Agatha, have you had enough time to answer some more of these questions? What do you think?
Yeah, I did. So the name for the organization, I just wrote the company because they might be some kind of shadow governmental organization, a la the CIA. But I was also thinking, well, I was kind of waffling between having a more campy name versus a more cyberpunk name. Okay. So I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe we'll go with the company for now.
I do want to know what your campy name was, just because I like campy stuff. But
yeah, it was. What was? Oh, now I don't. Oh man.
That's all right if you've lost it. But
yeah,
the company works. I like it because it also has that like military organization angle too. You could go with, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the company.
Yeah.
Very sinister. Cool. Yeah. So did you have any other of those backstory questions that you had?
Yeah, I can just go through them.
Yeah. Run those by us.
So who mentored me in supervillainy? It's Mr. Milan. He picked me up when I survived picked me up from wherever I came from. And when I survived the first round, so it's like they put the kids through, think of any anime where it's like elimination.
Sure. The Hunger
My,
Games, right?
yeah, or the Hunger Games, yeah.
You wake up and beat Takeshi is standing at the front of your classroom. That's just bad news. That's
Oh, Battle Royale, okay.
Right.
Basically. And when I survived the first round, I don't know what I was writing. When I survived the first round and was qualified to get a trainer, he said, I knew you had potential. So that's Mr. Milan.
I'm already digging Mr. Milan. Do you have like any sort of like an appearance in mind for them?
Yeah.
Just to help me like embody them when the time comes, right?
Yeah, for sure. What I had in my mind was he basically looks like a stereotypical pimp.
Okay.
So like the hat and then kind of like the white pants and like white suit, and a cane, that kind of deal, Mr. Milan.
Mr. Milan.
And in the company, it's only so if everyone is a soldier until you get to like an officer kind of. Once you get like an actual rank, then you get to pick your own name.
Oh, interesting.
Which is why I was Soldier 9, but he is Mr. Milan.
So he went through the same process you did.
One assumes.
Sure. Okay.
And then who first showed me that I could do good? So Rich, I was actually looking at your thing, and I was like, Corin or Corinne.
I like Corin.
Corin, yeah. I put her as well, but it could be something else. But I just feel like that's very delicious drama. Corin, so she was so powerful that she beat Mr. Milan in one of our encounters. I thought she was going to kill me, but she patched me up instead. And she told me that heroes are powerful and good. So that was a very huge life event for me.
Yeah. That you could do something beyond just survival, right?
Yeah. And that like powerful creatures would use that not just for their own advantage. And then what caused me to switch sides was when I was left for dead by the company, I thought that was a sign for me to leave.
Yeah.
It seemed like that's what that meant. I thought that meant that was the end of the relationship or the whatever unwritten contract that was between the company and I.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in this here because it seems like Corin was super inspiring to you, and she taught you to use your powers for good. But now she's gone and it looks like she might be using her powers for not good.
Yeah.
But you still stick around with the team. What's keeping you there? You still stick around with the team, right? What's keeping you there as opposed to following in Corin's heel face turn, so to speak, right?
I think what Corin gave me was a life purpose, and being on this team fulfills that purpose. And I'm, of course, very confused and upset about the fact that she seems to be now doing things that she said before are not what one does. But I'm going to, if she can't do it, then I'll do it. That's
very cool.
Doing good.
Yeah. If anything, this is a chance for you to really shine. So that's exciting. Okay. Thank you for filling that all in for us for Enan in Connell. So what I want to do here real quick, let's just do relationships. Then we can take a nice, maybe like 10-minute long break. And then we can think about that first time we came here, and we'll come back and we'll talk about that. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay. So coming on back to Eagle Eyes, let's look at your two relationships and fill those out. Honestly, these are some of the relationships I'm most excited about because they're gushy. What do you think? Who is your love?
All right, I have to ask the other players who wants to be my love.
Oh.
I'm totally down with that. Like if you
Oh my god, Verlax / Eagle Eyes.
yes, yeah, no, like if you think that's a if you can have that work, then to have like that's a super complicated and weird relationship that I think will be a lot of fun.
So I think, and for the love is you've opened up to them about the worst parts about your past. So I think Verlax was created as a weapon.
Yep.
I was kind of created as a weapon after the fact, which is also weird because Inen is also like created as a weapon after the fact, but she was molded more than just changed.
Yeah.
So we're all child soldiers to a degree, except Dylan.
There's a theme going on.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I'm completely not like I'm not judgy.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I opened up. Sure,
Yeah.
Verlax is my support system, I guess.
Yeah, and you're both kind of learning about the world and going through this together.
Yes.
Okay.
And someone else is my rival. I'm gonna say that is. I think I want like basically I have to pick between Dylan and Inen. I think it's gonna have to be Inen because Dylan's thing is like different.
I love it. I think it's appropriate because you guys overlap so well. Like all three of you have a lot of overlap, so the rival makes sense.
Yeah, like
Why would Dylan be your rival? He's so far superior.
oh my god. Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Agatha? Is that cool for you?
Oh, and also Inen, my rival, tried to control me at a crucial moment. Apparently, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I really want to explore that and see if I try to control you towards villainy or towards good. And I'm curious.
Sense.
Yeah. Do you think at the moment that it was like a tactical thing when you tried to control Eagle Eyes, or a different kind of situation? What do you think that was like?
I don't know. What would bother Eagle Eyes the most?
I think he just has no idea what he's doing. So I think just trying to control me, period, is bothering me enough. So sorry, I'm just trying to
Does
spam
Inen
threes.
Does Inen have that thing going on where because she's a new convert to being a hero, she's like super into the right way to do it? Like when you convert to a new religion or like you just started like a new thing. So she's like, what, like, do you like to like repeat that lecture that you got from our teammate who's no longer with us?
Oh, Corin.
To like remind us what we have to do to be heroes, or?
Yeah, maybe. I think it was probably. Oh, maybe I'll change one of my moves. It was probably one of those moments where to do whatever or to achieve whatever you wanted to do at that moment, Eagle Eyes, you were doing something that's kind of skirting the line, like in the gray area between like, oh, this is the right thing to do versus like maybe this is not the best. And I was like, you can't do that. Because
if we torture this dude,
right.
We'll get the information a lot quicker.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I think I get very reactionary.
And I could see for Eagle Eyes always
awesome.
having to deal with this voice in the back of your head trying to tell you what to do, then to have somebody else try to tell you what to do. It's like I get enough of that at home, you know, so to speak, right?
So when we, sorry. Oh wait, never mind. I was gonna ask a silly question because I was gonna ask if when we advance, if we can take moves from playbooks that aren't from the,
Sure.
but that aren't like from the ones we were supposed to choose. But that was a stupid question because we could choose from the delinquent. So,
Oh, did you have some delinquency in mind? I could see that.
because I was like, okay, now it seems like bull, or sorry, Eagle Eyes is a delinquent more than a bull.
For sure. Okay. Perfect. I think we got those nailed down.
Oh, and by the way, my bull's heart benefit is defender. So when I leap into danger to defend my love or my rival in battle, I roll plus danger instead of plus savior.
Oh, okay, cool.
Relax, thanks you in advance.
Speaking of Erlax, let's move on to your relationships. Who is an exemplary humanoid?
Enan is an exemplary human. They show me around and tell me how things work.
Oh, great. We got the triangle going already.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And the behavior of Dylan confuses me again and again. I'm determined to understand humanity better by studying him.
Or humanity.
So I'd like to change the spelling on my character's name because everyone's going to call him Dylan, and that's going to drive me crazy.
Dylon?
So,
Dylon?
yeah.
Dylon.
Dylon. I thought it was Dylan.
Nope. Dylon. There we go. I got it.
Well, thank you.
Yep. That actually works better.
That makes sense.
Give us the set in stone pronunciation right here, Rich. What do you think?
Dylon.
Dylon. Okay. Like a Cylon, but a Dylon. All right.
Technically, humans can't pronounce it perfectly, but
I could see that.
Like pylons that we must construct additional of.
And that's it. Does that work for both of you guys? Enan, you okay with that?
Cool. I got some thumbs up here. Perfect.
Excellent.
What's a time where Dylon's behavior confused you?
What's a time where his behavior confused me? I think that it confuses me again and again. I think like because of my fascination with like the connection between memory and imagination, Dylon like kind of seems to try to deny that he has an imagination. That it's all like when he comes up with a solution to something, it's like, well, like it's all process and math and and like building blocks of stuff from before. But he will like he comes up with solutions to problems that and like the solutions make no sense to me. And I think it and I want to explore during play whether is that just that he's so much smarter than me that I literally do not understand it, or that there is some like emotional component to coming up with ideas like that is present in a different way in him than it is in other people. Like constantly, like we'll come up against a problem, and like I envision a thing where like if we come up against a problem, the three of us go, well, if we put our heads together and we go, well, if we did this, we could do that. And Dylon goes, no, we're going to do this completely different thing that no one had any reason to think of. and then it will work, and we'll be like, where did that come from? I don't like. How does like, you know, like the kind of counterintuitive way that his intellect works, I think is going to be like a subject of fascination to me.
Okay. I could see that, you know, especially with I think Dylon is uniquely situated where he has this Cree heritage that he's trying to, you know, restore, but he also is very innovative. So how do you feel about that, Rich?
I hope that I'm up to the challenge to be that creative.
Fair enough. But you're okay with that relationship there? Thumbs up there?
Yes,
Perfect.
it's fascinating.
Well, perfect. Let's go on to some more of Dylon's relationships then.
Cool. Relationships. You told someone about your shame and asked them for their confidence. After the development with Inconel, I don't think she knows. Like, she needs to not know because I want her to find out as we're going. I think Verlax, because Verlax is so in the moment that he's probably forgotten that he even knows.
I love how Verlax has become like the one that everyone just confesses to.
Well, he's not judgmental, like we said, right?
So flexible.
Yeah. So Verlax knows your secret shame.
And then the second part is you wish you could be a better hero, more like Inconel, because she's always spouting off cool stuff that Corinne did. And I took note of it, but, you know, I thought there was more important stuff, but now I find it lacking.
Interesting. Okay. Definitely somebody who wants to take their power and give it a purpose, right? Which it sounds like you want to do too. So, Jim and Agatha, how do you feel about those relationships? Are those kosher with you? One thumb? What do you think, Agatha?
Yeah, that's good.
More thumbs. Okay, so we have two more relationships, and then we can take our break. So, what about Inconel?
Yeah, and also on the note of pronunciation, according to dictionary.com, the pronunciation is Inconel. So it's
Inconel.
yeah.
Okay,
the
thanks. I'll
stress
work on that.
is
Inconel.
yeah. Yes. Okay, I'm not sure for the. So my first one is I've earned the trust of someone, and I follow their example of what a hero should be. I'm not sure who that should be yet.
It would be
Because
so awesome if Dylan was looking to you for what it meant to be a hero, and you were looking for him to what it meant to be a hero.
I'm kind of thinking of that actually.
Yeah, that would be so cool. Like,
yeah, that's the one that would
see you
make the most sense.
going past each other, trying to figure all that stuff out. That would be awesome.
Because I think that, you know, the obvious answer would have been Corin.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that little, you know, dramatic irony of finding out, you know, eventually that her shift was his fault, and now you get to deal with that. Okay.
So Dylan Farr, are you good with that?
It's adorable. Yes, I like this. That's what I secretly want, is for everyone to admire my heroism, so it's great.
Right. And then my other one is I did something terrible to so-and-so once. I hope they can forgive me one day. And let's see.
I think we might need a couple more relationships with Eagle Eyes on the table.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wanted to make it Verlax, but because I love also the irony where yours is Enid is an exemplary human, and mine is I did something terrible to them, to Verlax. But I think it could work
There's also
with Eagle Eye as well.
There's also the fact that you're my rival, so and that might be why you're my rival.
I think it's even more complicated than that, where it's like I did something to you like before I joined the team, and I've always felt guilty about it, which is why I'm like I'm like overcompensating with you.
All
Um,
right.
where I'm always like trying to help you, and like but also being like kind of sanctimonious about it. So, which is why you're like
Yes.
so annoyed.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you were Soldier 9, what do you think that you did to Eagle Eyes that was so terrible?
Um, so Eagle Eye, you're new, right, to this cosmos, this
Yeah.
universe. Um, it must have been when you first arrived, and maybe
Oh,
you were
sorry.
very trusting.
I just had an idea. Like that's
Oh,
good, but like what if Eagle Eyes is the one who figured out that Corin had turned
Mm.
and you defended Corin and tried to take out Eagle Eyes? I don't know, just throwing that out.
hmm.
I
I
think that
kind
makes
of want
sense.
I
Oh,
kind of want this to be that that I have like a secret guilt, um, that again that I'm overcompensating for, maybe that
Did,
you're not super aware of, because apparently we're a team of secrets.
oh my god.
can I?
We're
Do you mind if I make a suggestion?
yeah, go ahead.
Did maybe you destroyed his means of getting home.
That's actually a good one, I think.
Yes, it has to be that.
And and
Oh
and and,
gosh.
and you know this, and like we maybe even have all together gone on missions. Like, don't worry, Eagle Eyes, we'll find the way to get you home. And you're there, like quietly in the corner, going, "Yeah, we sure will. Yep,
Yeah,
definitely."
yep.
The only
That
thing is
that
that I'm not sure Eagle Eyes wants to go like home as in back to the machine,
Sure,
mhm.
but
but
like
whatever.
home
But
being
your
elsewhere.
option of not being stuck here in our universe. Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, even if you don't care about going back, the fact that I destroyed it, along with all the other things that I did, are way on my mind constantly.
Yeah,
For
that
sure.
makes sense.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome. I have a really feel like I have a pretty good understanding of everybody, the way we all mesh up. Um, Lots of great, juicy tidbits here for me as a GM to kind of jump onto, and just for everybody to kind of work together. We have the great ticking time bomb powder keg of secrets ready to blow up at any time. Cool. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about how we earned our title, the Guardians of the Galaxy. But yeah, let's take a quick 5 to 10 minute break. My wife said that there's something black and fluffy in the shed that I need to go check out. So hopefully I will come back alive.
And not smelling like skunk.
Well, luckily that won't affect you. The glory of the internet.
Good luck, brother.
See you soon.
I went and grabbed some food. I hope you guys don't mind me just munching on the side.
I
do
don't
that
mind.
too.
I don't mind. I just makes me want to eat ramen as well. If that is ramen.
No, it's rice.
Oh, it is rice. Okay. It is rice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me want to eat ramen somehow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always down for ramen, so I understand.
Some people have different levels of comfort with watching other people eat. I'm kind of in the middle zone, but I think we could all agree, at the very least, that the sounds might be a little bit
All
distracting.
right. Yeah, mute yourself.
So as long as you're muted, I think it'll be fine. If you cover your mouth or turn the video camera off, whatever works for you is fine with me. Cool. I'm looking at the galactic map here while we're all getting situated. Trying to... There we go.
Oh, you're able to trace and color. I don't know what tool you use to do that. That's really neat.
You have to use the curve tool as opposed
Curve
to the
vector or just curve?
just curve.
Curve.
Okay.
And that fills it in and lets you put in a transparent background or whatever.
Neat.
I'd like to know. Oh, so the danger zone. Whose
I
inclusion
put it
is
in.
that? I like that. The danger zone.
This is a place we don't go to because it's very dangerous, hence the name.
We need to put a number to it, right? Yeah.
No, it has a number, but there's like the Shiar area, for example, that doesn't have a number. And the
Does.
number is indicating
Oh,
where
you're
the
right.
planet is, the home world,
Gotcha.
or throne world in this case.
Mm-hmm.
The number that it has is like the node of the cosmic machine. Actually, the closest node to us, it's just like very dangerous to go there.
Is there a highway that leads there that we want to put on the map?
Oh, actually, can we just put where we are? Also,
I got you, Jim.
Thank you. Thanks, old man.
All right.
Don't say
it. Okay. So we've got our number 4 is that like the head planet of the Kree empires at their seat of power, where that 4 is placed, do you think?
Sure. Yes. It was just put a 4 there, but now it is where the Kree homeworld is.
Works for me.
Supreme intelligence floating in his tank there.
Yes, exactly.
I have enjoyed readings up on some of the actual Marvel information or whatever, but
also, I mean, like another thing that's a point of that's a point in Marvel, and I don't know whether we'll get into in the game or not. It might be, though it might be fun to have it touch on it. Is that the Kree and the Skrulls have been at war forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a way that like does not point to any obvious end to it until one or the other wipes each other out. Like galactic enemies spanning back thousands of years.
So yeah, let's just talk about that for our game's lore, right? And lost Agatha, but I hope she hops back in. So.
Oh, and by the way, I made a V thing to be our ship, if that's okay with you.
Yes, and we will talk about our ship too. What was I going to say? Does Dylon as a Kree have any familiarity with the Skrulls? Are they long gone? And if not, or if he does have knowledge of them, what would the relationships between your two peoples have been?
Wow, that's true, because I guess we need to discuss that, Jim. If your Super Skrull is not has no obvious enemy, then does that mean that the Kree Skrull war is not a thing that's going on in this quadrant?
So I kind of like the idea that we're 20 years on from Galactus having eaten the Skrull homeworld, which is a thing that happened in the comics. And so
and all we need to know is that Galactus is a giant dude that can eat planets, right?
Yeah. Like basically what we need to know is that the Skrulls have no homeworld and that their empire collapsed and they're diaspora now.
Okay. So you'll still see Skrulls in this galaxy hanging around.
Yeah, but like I suspect that a lot of them, like if you have a situation where, you know what, I really kind of like the idea that the Skrull Empire is like the former Soviet Empire, and like the Kree are like, you know, Europe in the West. That like it was these two massive empires that like were basically both powerful enough that they were just at loggerheads. There were a bunch of like proxy wars being fought and all this kind of stuff and everything. But then suddenly one of them collapsed due to, you know, this catastrophic event. And so it broke up into little principalities and all this kind of stuff and everything. And like a whole bunch of the Skrulls died in that. And so, pardon me, please. So I have a feeling a lot of Skrulls are out there in the world, like not looking like Skrulls.
Sure.
All right, they all look like treasure chests. Yeah, that makes
sense. But you know, like all these infiltrators, if the people that give them their orders suddenly are gone, and they've like become parts of these societies, but now the reason for them to be an enemy or to be trying to take over those societies suddenly goes away. You know, what does that then look like? Do they then all just go native? Do some of them try to, you know, carry on their mission on their own? But kind of the idea that that they don't have a central authority, but that the specter of them could be a thing that some of the Kree could use to, like, you know, whip up like political foment when they need to and stuff like that.
Love it. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Some people talk about refugees at their borders. Some people talk about taking care of the children. The Kree drum up funds for war by talking about the Skrull threat.
Yeah.
They could be hiding amongst us, right? And the Kree, it sounds like, are kind of dealing with a little bit of some issues too, because they had this Ronin bad guy, and now they're kind of trying
They had this Ronin bad guy who really just made a lot of bad decisions, came in like a bull in a china shop, wrecked a bunch of stuff, was like driven on bad idealism. Some even say he slept with porn stars and hid it. He's terrible. Yes. Ronin is awful. And now the Kree Empire has to deal with that.
Interesting.
20 years ago, though, so.
Yeah, so some time has passed, but that's, you know, you're a young, idealistic individual. Interesting. Okay. Agatha, you're back. Cool. I was worried you might have had a technological hiccup. You're still good. Yeah, did you have any ideas for contributions to the map? Maybe like the company's headquarters, or if they're like nomadic, do they have a ship that moves around? Do they have, you know, whatever zone of control, anything like that? Or even like maybe your home world? You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be knowledge that Inconel has. It could be, you know, just stuff that you think would be cool to have on the map, a place that we might encounter.
Yeah, I think I'll put in some known active or areas that the company is known to be active in.
Mhm.
And I'll put that as numbers. So spots on the map.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I like that. I like our colorful blobs and little dots and swirls and whatnot. Very fun. Cool. Okay, so we can have some of that. Let's talk about basic moves real quick. Just because that's less exciting than the story part, and then we can get that a little bit out of the way. I mean, I think they're pretty cool too, but whatnot. So let's not worry about the adult moves yet. Those will come up later. But I want to talk about each of the basic moves and go through those together. Starting with, if you want to read together, the directly engage a threat. When you directly engage a threat, you're going to roll plus danger. So this is kind of like the mix it up type move, right? This is when you're facing something head on, a threat, right? I think an important distinction to make is that this is when you engage a threat. You know, you guys have some powerful abilities. If you come across some little minions or whatnot, they might not be a threat to you. We wouldn't make this move, right? But some things that could be involved could be blows, which might lead to the take a powerful blow move, which we'll look at. Creating an opportunity, pressing, surprising. These are kind of more like fictional positioning type results rather than mechanical necessarily, right? Next down that column, we have unleash your powers. This doesn't, I mean, you know, obviously for Verlax, this is going to look like, hey, I, you know, shoot fire out of my arms or whatever. But even for Eagle Eyes, whose powers are maybe a little bit less flashy, right? He can still use his great strength or toughness to do something cool. And this is overcoming an obstacle, reshaping your environment, extending your senses. And I know we have on the table some moves that adjust this a little bit, like Dylon can use gadgets and then he's rolling with superior instead of with freak, you know. But that's kind of another fictional positioning type move, right? On a hit, you do it. And whatever that means is just kind of like our fictional understanding. Comfort or support. When you do that, you roll with mundane. This is it's kind of hard, maybe even impossible to like shift your own labels, right? A lot of these labels that you get are like what other people are labeling you with, right? So as when you use comfort and support, this is a way that you can change other people's labels, right? And also on a 10 plus, you get to add to the team pool, clear conditions, things like that, which we can talk about. Yeah, I missed something in the hangout. What's
No biggie. Agatha's just doing some map work. It's all good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Next we have Pierce the Mask, which is all about, you know, seeing the person beneath. This is not necessarily the same thing where everybody's wearing masks and stuff like that, but the idea is still the same, right? Is trying to see what their real motivations are, their ulterior motives, things like that. Just ways we can ask each other questions. And you can do that with NPCs and with PCs also. So, you know, keep that in mind. Defend is when you defend someone or something. You're going to roll with Savior. There's some options from there you can choose from. Adding a team to the pool. This one has some more mechanical sides for that. Yeah, so when you defend, an interesting thing with defend is that you can defend against a PC threat. So this is kind of like the interfere move you can use as well. If a PC is doing something that you don't agree with, you can defend against them as a threat, and that's going to subtract from their role and make things more complicated for them. So that's one way that we do kind of PvP, so to speak, right? Assess the situation. This is just ways we can ask more about the situation at hand and maybe some tactics we can take from there. And also mechanically, you get a +1 forward. So when you start a situation, especially someone who's highly superior, they might choose to assess the situation before jumping in headlong, right? There's some list of questions there. Provoke someone. Is when you provoke someone susceptible to your words. That's an important little distinction there. You can't necessarily provoke everyone. They need to be susceptible to your words. Often this means if you have influence on them, which is a mechanical thing here, right? You're going to have leverage for provoking. Maybe you're going to just have to do some fictional positioning, right? But they have some questions there. It's a little bit different for PCs because we want to give the PC's agency over how they deal with being provoked, right? So it kind of talks a little bit about it. Whether they do it or don't do it, you can still have a choice. If someone provokes you, you don't have to rise to the bait just because they succeeded with the roll, right? So that's good to know. Otherwise, it's kind of more like fictional positioning and mechanics, right? Take a powerful blow. This is like our harm move, so to speak, right? This one is a little bit different because the results are inverted. So you actually want to roll low. Now, whenever you roll a 6-, with the mechanics, you get to mark potential, which kind of is like gaining an XP, right? So even when you miss with this roll, if you get 6-, that's a good thing for you with this roll, but you actually still get to mark potential. But if you get a higher roll, which tends to be if you have more conditions marked, there's some things that happen. Harm is done in a more kind of fictional way here. You don't necessarily have like a wound track or anything like that. It's just if you take a powerful blow, you might have to remove yourself from the scene or lose control, right? Or lashing out. So that's what that move looks like. Any questions about basic moves? That's not too many to have to deal with there. I kind of like them. There seems to be a lot of elegance here that's maybe at play with influence and the team pool and conditions that might seem a bit overwhelming, but I think that they're going to interlock pretty well. And we have some veterans who've played Mass before who can help us out. So as I'm moving forward, please feel free if you think like, hey, I think this is a move here, or if you have a particular move in mind that you're trying to angle for, it's totally okay to be like transparent about that and bring that up in the conversation, right? So feel free to pipe in when that's relevant.
One thing from my experience, I've played Mask a few times. There will be a point, guaranteed, at least once a session, where someone will say, "Oh, hey, I think a few minutes ago we triggered this move. Just accept it. If you want, we could roll back, hit that move, and it will change the fiction. If we want to say, hey, we're going to blow past it because we're too far gone, that's up to you, Michael." It's going to happen. There's a lot of little moves that are great because they mechanize things that you will naturally like fall into. But you just have to stay mindful of it because there's a lot of little moves that can happen, especially the team-oriented moves. Sharing triumphant celebrations and sharing vulnerabilities, those will happen before you even know it. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, and this is a high action, fast paced kind of storytelling too. So it's really easy to blow past some of those. So yeah, bring those up. We can definitely address those or say, it's not a big deal, as we see fit. Cool. So I want to talk about these peripheral moves a little bit. Looking at our time here, we're at 8:15. I don't think I'm going to introduce any additional story beyond talking about when we first came together. But at the start of next week's session, I'm going to add one to the team pool. And that's basically just a reminder for myself. That's something that helps us get the momentum going a little bit with the venture. And we'll talk in a little bit about those team mechanics and what they do. And we'll talk about the end of session, which is basically just like 3 questions that you ask yourself. Did you grow closer to the team or not? Did you grow into your own image of yourself, or did you grow away from the team? So you kind of pick from one of those 3 based on the events of that session. And there's some different mechanical things that happen in response. And I also just think it's a really interesting conversation to have too. Let's see. Team mechanics. Okay, so we're talking about that too. So we already have one team pool at the beginning of the session, but when we enter battle against a dangerous foe, we're going to start with adding 2 team to the pool, and then other moves can change that. We'll answer some questions. Who's leading? Do you trust them? Things like that, and that's going to affect that. So when we get ready to go into a big battle, we're going to pause for a moment and have a discussion about what that looks like, which is cool because it gets everybody on the same page too. But specifically, what you can do with pool, anyone working with the team can spend team as a resource 1-for-1 to help a teammate and give them +1 to their roll. You can also spend it to act selfishly, which is the one way that you can actually shift your labels up or down. And one thing that's useful too is that if you make a roll, say like you're rolling to unleash your powers, and you have a +1 freak, and you get like a 6, right? You can spend 1 from the team pool to act selfishly, make yourself more freakish, adjust that label up to get the +2, and then turn that 6 into a 7 to 9. So you can use that team after you make a roll to adjust your success or failure there. Yeah. And then we get to deal with the fallout of you being rude. And then basically at the end of the session, or whenever time passes, I'm going to empty that team pool out and start again fresh, so it doesn't stick around as a rollover. So don't feel a need to hoard it. When you got it, definitely use it, because it's gonna evaporate. And then we'll talk about conditions a little bit as well, just to get everybody right headspace on those. If a move tells you to mark a condition, you get to mark any that you choose. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to choose from there. When you have all of this, is kind of like your harm track in a way. When you have all of your conditions marked and then you find yourself needing to take another, you're taken out. So we'll kind of talk about what that looks like. If that's you, walking away from the team, or, heading back to the bio dreadnought, whatever that looks like, we're going to talk about that. But when you have a condition, depending on which one you choose, it causes a penalty to specific moves. So keep that in mind. Think about those. And there's lots of ways to talk about clearing conditions. One of the easiest ways is taking actions in a scene. Depending on which ones you take, it's going to just clear it narratively, and then we just cleared out mechanically as well. So keep those conditions and their clearing triggers in mind when you are in a scene, to both think about how you should maybe portray your character, and maybe what kind of actions they might take that would clear that condition. So keep that in mind. And they're all listed there. I won't necessarily read them all out here, but they're also listed on our Excel sheet too, if you need another reference for them there. Shifting labels, we've already talked about that a little bit. It just means that your view of yourself is changing, usually by how other people are trying to tell you who you are or what you should be, and that's going to shift your labels. If you ever need to shift a label above a +3 or a -2, you're going to take a condition instead. So there's another mechanical bit to keep in mind. Final one I'm going to cover today, because moment of truth and advancement, we can leave that for a later session, but it's influence. And this is when someone has influence over you, it means you care about what they do, say, or think. Anytime you can give influence to any character who doesn't have influence over you. So you can just do that anytime. Additionally, all adults have influence over you. That's part of the teenage nature of Mask, is that adults already have influence over you. So keep that in mind. Even if you don't have a lot of respect for what an adult has to say, they technically have influence over you, and they can use that to, try to get you to do what they want. There's some moves here involving influence. You get a +1 to all moves targeting them when you have influence over them, including if they try to reject your influence. You get a +1. When you take advantage of your influence over someone, you can basically spend your influence to get an effect there. When someone who has influences over you tries to tell you about how the world works or how you are, what you should be, like we said, you can choose to accept or reject that. There's a trigger there. It involves a roll when you try to reject. There can be some complications there. If you already have influence over a teammate and some mechanical fictional thing would happen where you would gain influence over them again, you instead shift their labels. And if you have influence over an NPC and would gain influence again, you take +1 forward. So there's a little bit of mechanical stuff there. And again, this sort of influence moving around, this is one of those things, like Rich mentioned, that could be really easy to not even notice is happening in the moment, the mechanical side effects of it. So we can always kind of come back to that or slow the conversation down, pause the conversation, talk about the mechanical implications or whatnot, as feels good or appropriate. Okay, dropped a lot on you there, but it's helpful for me to read it out loud. And anybody have any questions about conditions or influence or team? Okay. And we can always talk about it throughout the week too if you want to message me if there's something where you're like, I don't really get how this works. I'll be like, I probably don't either, but we can figure it out together. Okay, so now that we know more about influence, I think we should maybe mark on our character sheets, if we haven't already, maybe who has influence over each other right now. Is that a thing? What do we think?
Yeah, I can kick it off. I've got a couple. For the brain, you need these people as much as they need you. Give influence to 2 of your teammates. I give it to Incanel and Eagle Eyes.
So they have influence over you.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. I'm pretty sure the bullies give you influence to your love and rival. So I guess I have influence over. Do I have influence over? Do I put influence with Dylon on my character sheet as well? Or is it just a one-way street like in Monster Hearts?
So you would put under Dylon has influence, or I have influence over Dylon.
So and then Inen and Verlax have influence over me.
Right. Okay. How about for Verlax?
Verlax. I am receptive to how people think and behave around me. I give influence to all of my teammates. Everyone has influence over me.
Nice.
Completely makes sense.
Perfect. And for Incanel?
Let's see. What is mine? Oh, do you talk openly about your days as a villain? If so, give each. Okay, so no, I don't. So I give influence to the one teammate who. Oh, it's blocked. Who I'm trying to follow. So that would be Dylan Farr.
Perfect. Okay. We got our influence all flying around there, keeping track of that. Cool. Well, I guess the only other things I want to maybe touch on before, well, let's see. Yeah, I think we're ready to learn about our name here. Then we could maybe talk about the Shi'ar and your ship and what that looks like if we need to. But yeah, I want to know. I want some action. I want some explosions from everybody. So let's reverse it this time, and let's give Incanel first swing at the bat here. Oh, rewind.
Yeah, there's actually a specific order they're supposed to go in.
I have an order here. I think actually.
Does it include the limited edition playbooks, though?
Luckily, yes, except for the brain, but I can logically figure that portion out. But I did put a nice list for myself so that I would have that ready. The Reformed is first, yes. So let's get an answer from that. So we're answering the question, or we're talking about the time when our team first earned its title. So this is when the galaxy, after the events of this experience, right? This is when the galaxy recognized you all as the guardians of the galaxy, right? So we'll keep that in mind. But we have Enon, right? No longer Soldier 9, but we fought a terrible enemy from your old life, right?
Should I come up with another NPC, or should I just go with Mr. Milan?
It could be Mr. Milan for sure.
Okay, yeah. So it's Mr. Milan, and the question is, who was it, and what did they take from me? I'm open to suggestions because I can't really think of anything right now.
So we know that Mr. Milan is one of the officers of the company. Do you know maybe a little bit more about what his role within the company is further as an officer? Is he a recruiter?
Yeah,
is he just
he's a
headhunter? Handler. Okay.
Yeah.
Much like a pimp would be. Okay.
Yep.
So, but what we're looking for, we're gonna pull the table here. What did Mr. Milan take from Enon? So I'm guessing, like, was this the company coming back to take what was rightfully theirs? Was they wanted to take Soldier 9 out or back? What do you think?
Yeah, they were basically either being like, "Oh, like you're alive, so come back," but if I wasn't going to go back, then I would have to be erased.
Okay, so that's the situation when Milan is facing you.
Yeah, but I'm not sure in our battle what they took from me.
Yeah.
What if they began part of the erasure process and you've lost some of your either sense of self or your memories?
Oh. Yeah, maybe they took memories of my my early childhood. So maybe before I was picked up by the company.
That's sad. That's brutal. Face Mr. Milan, and he tried to use his erasure ray on you. Okay. Took some childhood memories.
And I can't edit this text box in the sheet because I think it's tied to the data. So
Mm. Oh yeah. Well, we can fiddle with that technology. I can. Basically, what you want to do is copy the contents of the cell and paste it in as just values only, I think, or something like that. Is what you want to maybe try to do. Rich is great with spreadsheet suits, so he can help you out also.
What were you trying to do? Sorry.
I want to edit my I want to edit my entry for the when our team first came together.
Oh yeah, sure. What do
But
you want
because
it to say?
I just want to say I want to answer the question and say Mr. Milan and my childhood memories.
Sure.
Just paste it into the formula bar and not into the cell itself, and you should be fine.
Oh, okay.
Type it up in that little business at the top. Cool. Perfect. Next, we have the bull. We defeated a dangerous enemy.
Yeah, we defeated a dangerous enemy. What was it? This is before Corin became bad, right? And this is when we found Verlax, I guess, as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to be finding Verlax as part of these events. Yeah, so I think Corn was still around being a good gal at this time.
All right. I think the dangerous enemy, so I want to say that the company was using cosmic machine technology or parts of the cosmic machine, so that was like part of like why it was so dangerous.
The cosmic machine influencing the company. So was this like that these members of the company had like powerful mutations from the cosmic machine? Was it one of the engines or components of the cosmic machine who joined them in battle? What do you think?
I think one of the engines probably mutated some of them, so it's a combination of the first two.
Okay, so it was also present there too.
Well, no, it wasn't present, but you could tell that company had like mutations related to that.
Yeah, cool. And you punched him. I don't know how the Fate Weaver will feel about that. We'll probably see. Cool. I like that. The Cosmic Machine mutated the company. Okay. That definitely sounds like the sort of threat that would earn you the title of Guardians of the Galaxy, right? That like this new influence could be something that could really endanger the galaxy. So, and that might be something that Eagle Eyes, I don't know. We talked about, do you kind of hide that mutation yourself? People don't know if that's what you were born with or not, right?
Yeah, I don't bother.
Okay. So, if somebody finds out, they might try to shift your danger label, so to speak, in Masks lingo. The next will be here. I think the brain prompt can kind of be slotted in anywhere. So, do you think that for the brain, do you think that your contribution, your innovation was post Verlax or pre Verlax in this event? What do you think, Rich?
Post Verlax.
Okay. So let's have the Bio Dreadnought get involved here. So what does that look like?
The team discovered me during the incident. Thanks to them, I reached the outside world and helped in the fight. Where and how did they find me? They found me in the lab in the heart of Zaxxon, ZAXXON, the Bio Dreadnought, and and where and how did they find me, and who gave me my first nickname is I think that Mr. Milan gave me my first nickname.
Ooh.
Because I think this was like a like this dreadnought, like this is like the Skrull dreadnoughts were all decommissioned decades ago. So this is like a like a space Hulk floating somewhere out, beyond the regular lanes of traffic and stuff like this. And it's like one of those very like sci-fi Star Trekky things where like in the first movie, the Bio Dreadnought was the MacGuffin that everyone was going after. And so like they all got there around the same time, fought through the corridors, and like it turned out that like they thought there was going to be some super powerful weapon there, but it turned out to just be me. And so like Mr. Milan actually like came in and said, "Oh, look at this, a little sleeper Skrull," and started to open it up. And then the team busted in. There was the big fight, and like somebody got me out of the pod in time to like just when things were, looks like they were going against the team. They bust me out of the pod, and I was able to help with the fight. But I think Mr. Milan gave me that first nickname. He's the one that called me the Sleeper Skrull.
I love it. So I'm thinking maybe that like the company was like trying not just to find ancient scroll weapon technology, but like was trying to take over Zaxxon for their purposes, right? And maybe also that the cosmic machine was going to further warp this bio ship into a
hell yeah
bio techno ship.
yeah. I really think that like Zaxxon and the cosmic machine probably don't get along at all.
And there's also a great band name.
Yes, yep. Zaxxon and the Cosmic Machine. Yes.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Cool. So I mean, they kind of saved your friend too, in a way. So that's
really
touching.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So our Brainiac here, Dylon, you've encountered some really interesting technology. But what is your prompt again?
The prompt is I created something lasting and beneficial for the whole team.
Yeah. So what did you create?
Well, I have a question first. This the bio ship. What do you see it being able to do? I assume that's our HQ. Like that's what we travel around space in.
Could be if you want.
Well, I don't see any. I mean, I could create a ship, but that seems kind of redundant since we have a ship.
I had some stuff on the back burner to throw at you for a ship, but then you all gave me a cool bio dreadnought. So
yes, yeah. I mean, like if you want to be that, have that be the thing that we travel around in, I'm totally cool on that. Like that's more like our HQ, like our home base. Like the bio dreadnought is not something you can just like kick into warp and go to, So like we would have some kind of little like whatever little runabout or scooter or like our like the whatever like Rocket Raccoon's little pod that he likes to fly around in. So that we can do more than one thing. But yeah, if we kind of if like Zaxxon is sort of where we hang out and then we go off on missions, I'm totally cool.
So Zaxxon's kind of a base. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes. Yeah. That work?
Cool. Got you. Yeah, totally. I just wanted to know that before I said I came up with this thing, and then all of a sudden it's actually your thing is like less good than my cool thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
awesome.
The ship
both of our cool things are cool. So
I was planning on y'all's ship having a personality anyway, so it's got one fully loaded. So perfect. Yeah. So what did you have in mind for your creation?
Well, then I think it could be perhaps a let's see, maybe like I'm a little stuck. Maybe a droid. I don't know.
Anybody have any ideas? We can.
Cool. Something lasting and beneficial for the whole team. Is we kind of have a big ship. We have a base. What do we need? Uniforms don't sound that awesome.
We need some way to instantly communicate with each other all the time.
Okay.
You know, like maybe just like
Man, you talk about communication and Michael just drops. You got Error 21, guys.
We need your like Legion of Superheroes telepathic earplugs or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that excite you though, Rich?
It does. It does, as long as it's useful. I like it. It means you can't split the party, or you can split the party, but like we can always talk, which is fun for quips and the like. So,
what about this? Situation kind of necessitated this innovation.
Well, what I tell them is that over several parsecs, we can stay in constant communication to coordinate our activities. What I really want is to be able to dip into a bit of their thought processes, so something like what happened with Corinne will happen again. I don't know.
Go meddling with their headsets again, huh?
For their benefit.
So
it's going to work this time.
Is there some telepathic stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a little bit stealing from Young Justice and Jim's suggestion of, we have a semi-telepathic link, so we don't have to vocalize, which is great in case you want to be quiet.
So is there some like conscious like?
Yeah, you can shut it off.
Okay, but you might accidentally reveal your true feelings for your stretchy friend or something if you're not careful.
There's that possibility.
Okay.
You're thinking to yourself, exactly what can he change? No.
Yeah, well, I will certainly be having those thoughts myself. No, I'm just playing. Very cool. Okay, so we have this scene where the camera, Star Wars style, goes down the full length of like this fleshy, kind of iridescent green colored ship, right, with all these nodules and fins and like big gills and like the like baleen teeth that you might see in a whale, but all lumpy and bumpy. You got your space barnacles kind of attached to the underside, right? And because we're just montaging for the beginning of the movie, right? You see the explosions down the length as you're all fighting your way through. So my question here is, right, this is really when you all came into your own and earned this title. Like, how do you feel about that now? Specifically for Inconel, right? Like that you kind of got into some trouble because Mr. Milan was here, and you had that connection, but you were able to kind of, well, I don't think you defeated him. He probably ran away, right, to to come back another day with his cane and bright white brimmed hat. But how do you feel about that?
About going against him or surviving going against him?
I guess like all of it, like seeing him again and they thought you were dead.
I think there is a huge part of it that's an adrenaline rush that always comes post battle, but I think seeing Mr. Milan also always triggers an automatic fear response. He definitely makes sure to drill that into every single one of his agents under his care. So I'm kind of dealing with both of these, and maybe I also helped pull relax out like a lot of things happening, and I'm trying to maintain control.
Yeah. So it feels good to defeat your nightmare, but now your nightmare knows that you're alive and might want revenge.
Well, I definitely didn't defeat him, and I don't even think I ever expect to. That's not like it doesn't occur to me that that's a thing that I can do.
Oh, okay. The company's influence is too far-reaching, maybe.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, Eagle Eyes. Questions for your feelings also. I mean, you've encountered the cosmic machine again and the influence of an engine and uh, its potential to be used for evil. What are you feeling? What are you thinking going forward? Do you have a new goal? What do you think?
I'm just confused as to why, well, like why they're clashing. Because the Fate Weaver is like defeat these things for the sake of the greater good, and then it's like, but they're also part of the cosmic machine. Why are we doing this?
So the Fate Weaver compelled you to fight these people.
Yeah.
Mm, okay, some conflict within the cosmic machine. Interesting. Uh, we'll see how that plays out. But so you're mostly confused, right? Um, yeah. Is there any? Are you? Is that something you think about a lot? Are you putting it aside to focus on being a hero? What do you think?
I put it aside
Okay.
because it's
Cool.
like it's not relevant right now. So
Very nice. Um, cool. For Verlax, right? Um, yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot for you to process becoming awake and alive. We've already talked about your feelings about the team, but just from these specific events, do you have any lingering feelings?
Um, uh, I mean, I think, yeah, like I suspect, like, I kind of like the idea that, I literally don't clearly remember what happened. It's like just a series of impressions to me because I literally had just been born and like my brain was coming online. I was like learning to talk as I was talking to them. I was, learning to walk as they were like pulling me out of the pod, this kind of stuff. And so like the first whatever, like 15 years of whatever, 12 or 13 years of a normal person's life happened in 3 minutes when I first met them. Um, and so kind of like to the like my entire basically my life started when I met them. And so I'm always kind of trying to eh, um yeah, my life started when I met them. I don't have a past. They all have pasts, and I don't have one. And so my like basically that I have the thing that's significant about that event is that those are literally my first memories. I didn't exist before that.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you still have some processing to do as well. So, Dylon, I mean, I imagine that your tactician sense definitely had a big impact on this battle, right? And you were able to innovate something very useful afterwards. But I want to hear a bit more about how Dylon feels about his, um, impact on the events and how this affects like your kind of broader goal of like reviving the Kree to glory, right? Does this connect to that at all, or what do you think?
When we're talking specifically about the fight with Mr. Milan and freeing Verlax.
Yeah. And earning the title, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right? That's true. That is not insignificant. I would say that Dylan rates his involvement in the conflict as he was a significant contributor, and that there was probably a 64% chance, give or take, of a standard deviation of 2% of failure by the group without his presence. The ability to have a super scroll or a secret skull, sleeper scroll on the team to foster that the Kree are able to reestablish relations with this former foe, definitely an asset. It's good PR.
Yeah, well, and good PR in general for the Kree that were once considered, the threat to the galaxy. Now one of their members is a guardian of the galaxy, which might be a lot of pressure on your shoulders if you meet any Kree later. You might want to shift your labels. Okay. Cool. Do we have any further clarifying questions or things we want to know about this inciting event before we head to debrief talk? Feels like a pretty clear situation here. Cool. Yeah, if we had an extra 2 hours, I would definitely want to give you all a chance to actually embody your characters instead of just talk about them, which is something that I like to do after character creation. But here's what we're going to do, because we didn't get a chance to do a lot of playing, so to speak, this session. I'm going to skip Roses and Thorns, which is a feedback procedure I like to do at the end of a play session. But I do want to do a little bit of Stars and Wishes, kind of. This is another newer feedback tool that's been discussed in the Gauntlet, which is... but basically, what I'd like to hear from you all are things in the story or things that your fellow players created that really excited you and you thought were cool. So we'll call those stars, right? That gives me an idea of which things are cool to highlight. And also, we're going to do wishes. Basically, just things that you want to see in the next 3 sessions of this game, right? Either scenes or people or arcs or themes, anything like that you wish will happen. We're going to do those too. So let's go back to our original column format, and let's start with Maria. Do you have any stars you would like to share?
Right now, I think I'm so tired. but my immediate thought would be I'm gonna say Enan. I'm gonna give a start to that character.
Yeah, Enan is way cool. I really like the sort of like logical follow-out of what this character would look like and what they would mean, and yeah, very cool. How about you, Jim? Who do you got a star for?
I've got a star for poor Corinne. I feel like she needs a star. She needs all of our stars. But I love that, like, she is like more than any of our like enemies or anything like that. She is like the ghost in the room, like the specter that is kind of hanging over everyone, and like all of us are sitting here knowing for a certain fact that at some point you're going to drop her on us, and and it's like the anticipation of that will be entirely delicious as we play through the next several games, even if it's not actually her, but whatever, like evidence of her, and and like the messiness that her departure has left behind is just really just super soap operatic, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of that happen. So I guess that's a wish and a star sort of combined together into one thing.
Very cool. Wishes and stars. Rich, who do you got a star for?
Star for the Dreadnought. That's super cool. It was the bio part that made me think of one of my favorite sci-fi shows, Farscape. So whenever we're there, I'm going to be imagining the corridors of Moya. And I don't care if that's anyone else's canon. It's fine. It exists just in my head.
If you find some pictures of that, share it to the folder or the Pinterest board or something so we can kind of, because that sounds cool. Agatha, who do you got a star for?
So actually, I have a star galactic map. I'm really feeling it. I just feel like it paints such a vivid and picture of this world, and it really brings it to life for me personally to kind of be like, oh yeah, like this is where things could be. And then also I love that it's the squirrel diaspora. These are just these kind of terms that people are using. It brings the world to life for me, and I love it.
Cool. I'm glad that was more helpful than a distraction. I was like, this isn't like a weird craft to go do on the side. So cool. Perfect. Back to Maria. I want you to get your sleep as soon as you can, but did you have any wishes you want to share, or are you ready to sign off?
I put in on the galactic map with multiple question marks where Corin might be hiding.
Ooh, Corin's location.
Yeah. So I want to see what's up with that.
Me too. Okay. Jim, any wishes?
I want to see the company try to get at Enan through the rest of us, like coming to us and making us offers we can't refuse, or like, wouldn't it be best for her if we don't have to go after her and really hurt her? You could help us make sure, stuff like that, like some kind of like the company coming. I think because like she's ready for the company to come at her directly. But like to get at her through her friends, I think that'd be super cool. That's something I'm looking forward to seeing happen.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. That'd be a fun approach. Rich, any wishes for you?
I want the Kree to continue to be assholes and for them to ask Dylan to do something terrible.
Okay. They have not learned their lesson.
No.
That fits in for how the book tells me to portray adults, so I appreciate that.
No problem.
And finally, Agatha, any wishes from you?
Yeah, because we are a team of child soldiers and also of secrets, I'm very excited for us to start playing that up to kind of get each other into situations where the secrets will be revealed. And for things to fall apart, because this is giving me Monster Hearts vibes, and I am about that.
Yeah, good deal. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody so much for participating. I have stars for all of you as well. I'll start with Eagle Eyes. Just some of these terms you've come up with: the cosmic machine, the Fate Weaver engine. Like, that's so cool. And that's the sort of thing where I go to a movie and I hear that term and I'm like, I have no idea what that is, but it's so exciting. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this zombie outbreak is going to potentially look like. Definitely for Verlax, like, I think you really did a great job, Jim, of following through on that promise of like bringing in cool Marvel stuff, but I did not feel overwhelmed or lost or swamped at any time. And I thought it was a really good balance there for sure.
Cool, thanks.
I appreciate your years of experience and steeped in that knowledge, which I usually get through like listening to podcasts really fast. So I'm almost in the 90s with X-Men now, thanks to Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men. I have a star for Dylon, I think, particularly because I just know he's going to have so much personality, and he's going to be really funny and a great like foil to all these other characters. That kind of haughty thing is can be tough to pull off, but I think that you've got the chops for it, Rich, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I really like Dylon. And also, I might, as a wish, I might end up leaning a little bit on your mass experience, but I hope to give you a chance to actually play and not be the GM. So, but thank you for, again, using some of that knowledge of what a mass GM likes and kind of incorporating that into what you create for your character. That was super helpful. Oh gosh, lots of stars for you, Agatha. Again, it's great to play with you again in PBTA. But like, I'm really excited for your like drag queen inspired, like villainous, semi-villainous friends. Mr. Balan, the space pimp, which is like something I could totally see in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I mean, I don't think he's actually going to be necessarily like, assaulting sex workers or anything like that, but just the idea of like the cool big hat and the style and the name is awesome. And yeah, I definitely think you really had a lot of thoughtful ideas going on about what Enan is like and her life, and I think that that's going to be way cool. So final thing before we sign off, I do have a little bit of homework for each of you to think about during the week. I want 2 things for each of your characters. Who you would cast in this movie to play your character. I want to know that. And also, I'd like to know your character's theme song. Okay? So think about that through the week and get back to me next time. Who should portray them in a song that embodies them? Because I think music is important to this jam.
Do we want the music to stick to a particular era? Like you're going to give us a time frame, or
it doesn't have to at all, for sure. I mean, yeah, just you let it out there. This is the new generation, right? Who knows what they're listening to nowadays? It could be something classic. It could be something new. My playlist has Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Beastie Boys, and Radiohead. So like, it could be pretty much anything. Just something that embodies your character.
You gave me the worst homework. I am terrible at these things.
Well, we can shake it up a bit. What would you rather have? Like,
no, like I'm fine. I'm fine.
Right.
I'm fine with trying to figure this shit out.
Well, I'm giving you a whole week, and luckily it's not an essay, so.
An entire essay of what the song would be.
Yeah. Well, hey, if that works for you, I won't. No. I'll do what my teachers probably did and not read it. Awesome. Oh, that was a little harsh, wasn't it? Yeah, I got a big ouch out of that. Just kidding. But again, thank you all for playing. I'm going to stop the broadcast here.